Bitcoin first. Bitcoin is clearly in a downtrend, and I'll tell you why. I mean, if you look at the technical analysis of Bitcoin, it's clearly in a downtrend. It's creating this lower high pattern, which can be easily seen, and you don't really have to use much of your mind to look at it. This first lower high, second lower high, and then third lower high, and now if this is completed, then we are going down to 53,000 US dollars macro macro time frame, right? So now if this lower time frame is completed, the next support lies at 53,272. This is an ideal case scenario. This will happen when nothing really goes nasty or nothing really goes wrong, right? And this is a very normal scenario, and this will not be a correction, this will not be a carnage, but this will be a healthy PA, because healthy PA is when a structure is completed, so it can further continue its rally to the upside, right? So if this lower high pattern is completed, then we will call it a healthy PA, and then we can start to uh, long, assuming nothing bad will happen from here, right? So uh, uh, so Bitcoin, for lower high to get completed, we need to test 53,000 US dollars, which is on the table, and this will be extremely normal for Bitcoin if it does that. But the only concern right now is this monster, which is S&P 500, which is trading at all time high, right? Which is trading at or close to all time high. So yeah, this is S&P 500. It's creating this lower high as well. Alongside, it's not bullish. Alongside, it's creating a triple top. Triple top. This is a triple top, right? This one and the lower high. This is the lower high we can see in S&P 500, right? So even if we test 56,000, it will remain 5600. 778, it will remain bearish, and it will not become bullish unless we breach and create a new all-time high, right? So uh, so now the why exactly we are talking about S&P 500 right now is because it highly affects crypto. If it corrects by 2%, alt market corrects by 20 10-20%, right? So that's the reason we need to look at S&P 500. So like if S&P 500 corrects from here, even a slight correction from here, say if S&P 500 creates this triple top, or it creates this lower high pattern, this one to be precise, right? This one. And if it comes down, it and if it does not respond well to rate cuts, then we are most likely to see and test 5400, which will literally lead to a carnage in crypto, right? Now, what do I mean with a carnage in crypto? A carnage in crypto would not be 53,000 US dollars. A carnage in crypto would not be 49,000 US dollars, because that's very much anticipated by everyone, right? Because everyone is able to see this wick here, see this wick here, right? And everyone is literally waiting to buy this wick, and it's at 49,000 US dollars, and it's at 49,000, 48,900 US dollars, and everyone is literally waiting to buy this dip. Now, if S&P 500 corrects from here, and it does not keep on creating all time high, because for any market, a correction is necessary for it to go up and it to continue the rally. So for S&P 500 to keep on going up, we need it to correct, and if it corrects, we'll see a carnage in Bitcoin. And as I told you, that 53,000 is not a correction, is not a carnage. It's a very normal and healthy PA, right? A carnage would be when 49,000 will not be respected, and then the next support will be 40,000 US dollars. All right. I know it sounds very unimaginable to a lot of people, but I'll just suggest you to draw this resistance in Bitcoin, which is coming from here at 69,000 down to 47,000, right? So you just need to keep a track of this resistance for you to figure out whether it is getting in a bullish, whether it's getting in a bullish trajectory or not, right? So now if S&P 500 corrects, now if S&P 500 corrects, then Bitcoin will not only test 53,000 US dollars, 50 or 49,000 US dollars, but it will literally go to 48,000 US dollars. But that I assume that wick will be that wick will be filled really quick, and it will be a quick bounce from 40,000 US dollar levels in case S&P corrects, or it sort of crashes 7, 10, 20% from these levels. So there is a condition that if S&P 500 corrects, right? Now if we look at the now if we look at the previous rate cuts, how Bitcoin performed during the previous rate cuts. Here how it looks like. So this was the previous rate cut which happened, right? First happened on July 29th or 31st of July. It led to a decent pump, say 18-20% pump, as you can clearly see here. It went from 9,500 to 12,000 US dollars in next 10 to 20 days, right? But after that, it was range bound for a while, like maybe for like a week, but then it started to correct, right? And it was range bound until next rate cut, which happened in September 23rd, which happened on September 23rd. Now, after the second rate cut, which was supposed to be bullish, because here everything was normal, everything was like global fundamentals were doing well. S&P 500 was at all time high. It was creating all time high again and again and again, right? But even after being everything perfect, almost everything perfect, fundamentals were amazing for U.S. economy. U.S. market was U.S. S&P 500 was doing well. U.S. economy was doing really well. And after the second rate cut, which happened on 23rd September 2019, we saw a correction to 7,500, which means we saw a correction of almost 47%, right? So that means Bitcoin in 2019, despite having all the bullish scenarios, because in 2019 S&P 500 during the rate cuts did not correct at all. It went from it went from it went from 3,100 to barely 2,900, and it started to pick up again, and it created all time high again. However, Bitcoin on the opposite side did the exact opposite. I mean, it did not pump. It just pumped for a few days from the first rate cut on 31st or 28th of July, or like the last week of July. It went to 12,000, probably to lure and to make retailers bullish. And after that, it corrected down to 7,000, which was literally a carnage, because 47% correction in a matter of 3 months is a huge correction, right? And yeah, this was the first rate cut, second rate cut, and this was the third and the final rate cut in 2019, which happened in October last week. And again, Bitcoin did not do anything different. It started to correct further down to 6,500 US dollars. So history says that Bitcoin has been really very bearish when it comes to rate cuts, because this time everything was fine. Literally everything was fine. US economy was doing well. There was no signs of recession, and interest rates were trading at 1.52%, and you know, they started to get it down to zero. US equities were creating all-time high. But now, US economy is not that great as it was in 2019, and interest rates are trading at 5.5%, record high in 30 years. Right. So if Bitcoin performed like this, I mean, if Bitcoin corrected by 40-45% when things were really great when it comes to US economy and US fundamentals, what makes me wonder and what makes me, sort of uh, wondering is ki what happens if rate cuts happen now when the global fundamentals are not really that great, right? Because if Bitcoin corrected 45% during the last rate cut, and if it does something similar, I mean, that would lead to a carnage, of course. But let's see what price would be when it corrects 40%. It would be almost at a support levels. I mean, that is 3840. I mean, it can't be a coincidence that Bitcoin will be at 38 or 40 if it corrects 40% from here. And even if it corrects 20% of here, then as well it's 48,000 US dollar, 49,000 US dollars, right? So Bitcoin, we might see a relief rally in Bitcoin, assuming there will be presidential elections, right? Because there's always been a rally before elections. Like if you look at like last 4 or 5 elections, there has always been a big rally before the elections, but there's a huge downtrend which happens after elections as well. So we might see a pre-presidential elections rally, but that's highly likely to get retraced. And Bitcoin macro time frame does not look good. I know a lot of people are expecting a good quarter four and all that, but fundamentals does not see the same, and that's the reason I have, because I have historical data in front of me. If Bitcoin could not perform or could not pump when things were really nice, what makes people think that it will pump when things are really not good, except the US presidential election, right? So US presidential elections is the only thing which can actually pump Bitcoin, and maybe Donald Trump coming into the power might pump Bitcoin a bit, but it's likely to get retraced again, because 5 out of 5 times last elections, the pump before elections has always been retraced back, no matter who comes into the power, right? So the only thing you or we need to look at is right now is so the only thing everyone needs to look at right now is to have S&P 500 chart right in front of yourself. Keep on tracking it, draw this resistance, and if it corrects, then we are very much likely to see a major correction in crypto. I mean, Bitcoin might be doing just okay, but it's the alts which will take the toll, which will take the take all the burden, because crypto total market cap excluding BTC and Ethereum does not seem to be doing fine as well, as it's creating continuous lower highs, right? This, if you are able to see. And now the next support uh, for crypto total market cap excluding BTC and Ethereum would be somewhere around 4,444 billion US dollars, which will literally lead to a carnage in alts, right? I mean, money will literally flow out of alts if it happens. So if S&P, the only bullish scenario for us is that S&P keeps on going up and up and up and up and up and up. That's it. If it keeps on going up, we are good. But if it corrects, and if it starts to correct, and if it decides to test 5,300 points, then we are very much likely to see 49,000 or below levels. in Bitcoin, right? And let's see how 4 hour 4 hour chart of Bitcoin looks like. It's clearly in a downtrend, and next support is 52,000. So we are uh, very much likely to test 53,000 in coming days, or or before rate cut or after rate cut maybe, right? But the only thing you need to watch right now, and if you're a bullish person, if you have a bullish bias, then the only thing you should pray is that S&P 500 keeps on making all-time high from here, and it does not correct for next 2 or 3 months. Because if it corrects, then Bitcoin is already, which is already weak, will going to take a big hit. So in this update, I explained you how Bitcoin
a ton, right? You don't have
behaved
that
during the
very
last
often, but
rate cut that happened 2019, and how it might behave if S&P 500 corrects from here, right? So if S&P 500 corrects from here, and if Bitcoin corrects from here, then all the major tokens will of course test their major liquidity areas. Like we have WIF in front of us, and we have its major liquidity at uh, 1.05, and you can check all the major liquidity wicks of these tokens, right? So these wicks are likely to be filled if there is a carnage in S&P 500 and Bitcoin. And if you look at Solana, then the major liquidity lies at uh, the major liquidity lies at 108, and if Solana goes to 108, WIF will easily do 109, 1.09, 1.09 levels. So these are the liquidity levels which you can mark in your charts respectively for every token, right? And if we see a correction, and if Bitcoin does 53.49 or 40, then these liquidity wicks are likely to get filled really very quick, right? So I'll summarize this again. You just need to look at S&P. You just I'll just summarize this session again. You just need to look at S&P 500 for right now and pray, if you're a bull, that it keeps on going up. Otherwise, Bitcoin is creating lower high, which is likely to take it to 53,000, and it will be absolutely healthy. But if S&P 500 corrects further, then we are likely to see 49,000, and if 49,000 is not respected, then we are going to see 40,000 US dollars. And one of the major update which I gave, which I talked about, is the previous price action of Bitcoin during the rate cut. So this was the first rate cut. Bitcoin sort of pumped for like 15-20% here, and after that, it was range bound. And after the second rate cut, it started to correct. Third rate cut, it started to correct even more, and it led to a 46% correction in Bitcoin in matter of 3 months, right? And this particular time, U.S. economy and U.S. markets, S&P 500s, they were creating all-time high, and everything was good. And and this time, U.S. economy is not that great. There are possibilities. There are very thin possibilities though of recession, and sentiments are not that bullish, right? So the only thing which can save Bitcoin right now is S&P keeps on making all-time high for next 2 or 3 months. Otherwise, there is no way Bitcoin will outperform or do better than what it did in previous rate cut. Like I'll say it again. When things were really nice for everything, for Bitcoin in particular, during that rate cut, Bitcoin corrected by 46%, and now things are not so nice for Bitcoin and the global markets and U.S. economy, U.S. equities. At this time, if rate cut happens, I'm not sure what levels we're gonna see. We can only see the support levels. Uh, the first is 53,000 US dollars, second is 49, and then we have 40,000 US dollars, and which will make alts correct heavily, and all the liquidity wicks will get filled to the downside. So I hope this update was so I hope if you have any sort of questions, I'm still here uh, for next 5 to 10 minutes. I'm here. I'm happy to answer your questions. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask me. It bothers me why BTC look for S&P 500 for its price action. It's not because it does not look. It looks for liquidity. It looks for money. Because eventually money comes from equity and then it flows into Bitcoin. So that's how it works. If equities are not doing well, that means people are not having much good sentiments for the market, which means they are not likely to invest in highly risky assets like Bitcoin. So if equity is correct, then it's natural for Bitcoin to correct because equities are safer than Bitcoin. So that's how it works, right? Lower time frame in touch होने के chances हैं within this week. I'll For that I would need to look at. Uh, well, lower time frame में I drew this resistance like almost a month back, almost right, and chances to hai of course because we have a resistance at 60,300, but I'll not bet on it because it's in a downtrend right now. Chances have, but it will not be a bullish move. It will be a bearish retest, right? So it will be a bearish retest, even if it does 60,000 from here, or even if it does 60, even if it does 62,000, then as well Bitcoin will remain bearish. It will not become bullish. So chances are there, but it will be like just like that sort of a pump, and it will retrace quick because that will be testing its resistance, and it will be a bearish retest. But overall, it's very bearish, and I don't really have to explain myself. It clearly is in a downtrend. I mean, it's creating lower highs continuously, consecutively, and it's trying its hard to test 48,000 levels. And if it does 48,000 levels, I won't be surprised. What really will surprise me is whether it does 38,000 US dollars or not, because if Bitcoin corrected 46% when things were fine during the rate cuts in 2019, I'm wondering how Bitcoin will do right now during the rate cut when things are not so great, and especially when the interest rates are trading at 5.5, and in 2019 interest rates were almost trading at 0%. So like there's a huge difference if you look at the fundamentals. So if Bitcoin did so bad in 2019 when things were good, I've got no clue how Bitcoin will do when things are good and rate cuts gonna happen. Atom, look, there is no point to chart any token right now because almost every token is creating similar pattern, that is lower high, lower high, lower high. Look at every token, and every token will be creating the similar pattern. The main point right now, and plus you don't really have to look into Atom. I would rather, if you're looking to buy something, or if you're bullish, then I would suggest you to look into Solana meme tokens or Solana, because that's where the liquidity is. Atom and all these old tokens do not have liquidity right now. So what are you doing for next month? भाई हम लोग स्कैल्पिंग करेंगे ऐसा तो नहीं कि बैठा रहूंगा मैं. वी स्कैल्प डेली ब्रो. वी स्कैल्प डेली एंड साइडलाइन नहीं रहेंगे, स्कैल्पिंग करते रहेंगे. एंड जब बहुत बड़ा कोई मूव आएगा नीचे की साइड, विल ऐड स्पॉट्स, राइट. एंड isn't BTC always lagged S&P 5 SPX moves? So if BTC should follow soon, rate cut liquidity flow into.
सर मेरे को पूछना था।
I'll answer that this question first. Isn't BTC always lagged SPX moves? If so, then BTC should follow SPX soon after rate cut. Liquidity will flow into risk assets. So look, I have given a previous